Many boxers have a special method to celebrate their victory, following a violent knockout or deft submission. Some of them just fist pump, while others might backflip from the cage. Post-fight celebrations are a terrific way for fighters to express their personality outside of the ring, regardless of how they want to do it. The fighters you can anticipate to find on this list are those who undoubtedly have more personality than others. Starting off with Rousimar Palhares' premature celebration, a failed, untimely victory celebration. Rousimar Palhares halted fighting at UFC 134 after he'd severely rocked Dan Miller and began to express his joy before referee Herb Dean intervened and leaped onto the fence. The ref had to cut his celebration short to remind Palhares that the fight wasn't over yet. He did still fight his way to a lopsided verdict though. Next, Mark Coleman's celebration was a failure too. Coleman chose to jump over the ropes to mark his victory over Igor Vovchanchyn at the Pride Openweight Grand Prix. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite successful in his endeavor, making his celebration short-lived and underwhelming, but happening at the same time. Next up, Muhammed Lawal got fined for his manner of celebrating. King Mo went a little haywire after his knockout victory over Mike Whitehead in December 2009 by shaking up an energy drink and letting it explode all over the canvas. Even though fighters are allowed to celebrate however they wish, this was one of the few cases where a participant was fined for his victory round, but only because his actions brought damage to the fighting surface. Have fun, but be mindful. Moving on, victory turns Jamie Varner into a bizarre dancer. We know winning a fight's a big deal, and the adrenaline rush can make you do cringy things that might become a regret later, but maybe Jamie Varner just didn't care. After submitting Jason Gilliam at UFC 68, he decided to break out the wildest combinations of dance moves ever seen, in the ring or on the dance floor. He did the chicken dance, mocked going to sleep, and then woke back up to do the worm. The last move might have been a little over the top, but we forgive him. He deserves a mention on our list. Following up with another dance celebration, Din Thomas danced his last dance after winning UFC 71. It was an undeniably great victory, with an armbar that earned him submission of the night honors. Of course, then he had to bust out his best dance moves with an added shimmy. Unfortunately, that proved to be the last post-fight celebration of his entire UFC career, as he lost his next two fights. Not to mention, Shinya Aoki is a badass. The man broke a guy's arm with a shoulder lock, but still celebrated the win. Not only did Mizuto Hirota have to deal with the pain of a loss and a broken arm, but he had to watch Aoki flip him off after all of that humiliation. The 39-year-old fighter continued to show his middle finger to the crowd at Dynamite 2009 as well. And we're not saying it was a professional celebration by any means, but we know everyone got a laugh out of his antics. Up next, we've got Brock Lesnar and his lack of sportsmanship. Much like Aoki, Brock Lesnar didn't give a damn about cordiality for the sake of sportsmanship, but that's also why he was the most entertaining. Towards the end of his fight with Heath Herring, a fight that he had won dominantly, Lesnar pretended to ride Herring like a horse, an extremely disrespectful and Lesnar-esque display of victory, but amusing despite the blatantly cheeky behavior. What's more, Tank Abbott's choice of celebration is mockery. Call it classless if you want, but don't say you didn't laugh when Tank Abbott made fun of John Matua's stiff limbs following his knockout victory at UFC 6. Abbott's actions would most certainly spark outrage in today's MMA audience. However, given the state of the sport at the time of his debut, this post-fight celebration was pretty standard, not to mention enjoyed by the fans. Let's not forget one of the most memorable displays ever. We can't talk about crazy post-fight celebrations and not bring up Phil Baroni's victory over Dave Menne at UFC 39, or more importantly, what came after it. Baroni earned his place on this list when he jumped onto the cage after knocking out Menne. He began to call himself the best ever before screaming, "I'm the man, repeatedly. We're not sure how much that win meant to him, but we're guessing a lot, since that's the only justifiable reason for a person turning into the loudest hype man for himself. Following up with Bas Rutten's extraordinary winning splits. Unexpected victories deserve surprising celebrations, and though Bas Rutten's unique yet strange display might have confused viewers, it was justified in his case. 43 seconds into the fight at Pancrase 6, Rutten had defeated Maurice Smith. What happened afterward was something neither him nor those present had anticipated. He broke out into a series of jumping splits like some absurd video game character. The UFC heavyweight champion shared that the move came to him in a moment of euphoria, and he just went with it. The whole world can make fun of him for what he did that day, but the truth is, had it been anyone else there instead of him, they would have acted the same way. Moving on to Anderson Silva, a champion with multiple celebrations. When you've won as many fights as Silva, you tend to branch out into the options of victory runs and celebratory displays. In fact, he's won and celebrated so many that it's actually impossible to remember each and every one of them. The UFC middleweight champ has gone from playing air guitars to dancing like Michael Jackson after knocking out opponents. One thing's for sure, he's never missed a moment to gloat on his victories, and rightfully so. Now, for a slightly creepy addition to the list, Chris Liebens kept his signature style throughout the years, and it's more murderous than victorious. After most of his wins, he looks straight into the camera and gives off the creepiest look that he possibly can. And if that's not enough creepiness, he's also covered in blood and looks like he's about to lose consciousness himself anytime. The pose, combined with these gory external factors, makes his post-fight celebration one of the most unsettling ones on this list. Coming up, Bonner likes to show who's winning. Stephan Bonner's post-fight celebration is straightforward but suits him perfectly well. He also looks into the camera, but unlike Lieben, he holds his fist, which is usually splattered with blood due to his tendency to get into fights. He shows the audience who's boss. Bonner's pose exemplifies why he's known as the American Psycho. Let's look at the most innocent celebration ever possible. Roy Nelson lacks the physique that most people associate with a professional fighter, but instead of resenting this and trying to change, he accepts his role as the pudgy kid of the MMA world, whether it hurts his career or not. Keeping in touch with his image as a smaller framed fighter, Nelson's belly rub may not be the most intimidating post-fight celebration, but it's certainly entertaining. Next, somebody call the doctor, because Rashad Evans got our hearts. UFC 88 was the biggest fight of Rashad Evans' career, and despite being the underdog in the fight, he knocked out the all-time great Chuck Liddell in the second round, surprising most fans around the world. To commemorate his monumental victory, Evans faked a heart attack. Not only was the celebration unique, but it also managed to capture the mood of the majority of those who were watching the fight at the time. Coming up, some winners don't know what to do. Sometimes the victory's so overpowering, the winner fails to grasp reality and react to it. Takaharu Murahama simply didn't know what to do with himself after defeating Chris Brennan under the Shuto banner in 2003. At first, he performed a walking celebration while flailing his arms around, which he then followed by a much more common celebration of climbing the ropes and raising his hands in the air. Now, for Forrest Griffin's unadulterated display of joy. Griffin's pure joy as he ran to his corner after his incredible win over Maurice Rua. A win that earned him his first UFC title shot was greater than almost any choreographed celebration. Up next, an oldie but goodie. Although not particularly inventive, Josh Barnett's post-fight celebration is one of the most well-known in MMA. After each victory, Barnett would make a throat-slashing motion, which is agreeably not great for the sport's image, but it's entertaining nonetheless. Not to mention Thiago Silva's rendition. While Josh Barnett pioneered the throat-slashing celebration in MMA, Thiago Silva took it to new heights. Silva's intensity as he walked to the cage-side camera for his post-victory celebration is still to be challenged. Lastly, Ronaldo Souza is undoubtedly unique. Ronaldo Jacare Souza's post-fight submission may be the most unique in all of MMA. He mimics a crocodile walking after submitting his opponents, paying homage homage to his nickname, which is a Portuguese name for a member of the crocodile family. And that's all for this video, guys. What's the craziest post-fight celebration out of them all? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.